Hi, I'm Arvil Price with America's Choice Inspections. The section in this year's mandatory update course called Types and Benefits of Surveys has brought several questions to mind in regards to my personal home and pending issues with our property. First of all, the city has approved a new sidewalk project to be installed on our side of the street. This sidewalk plan includes removing and replacing 40 feet of driveway. Our home was built in 1958 when very few families had two cars, and thus the driveway is only 10 feet wide, and often I have to ask my fiance to move her car or vice versa in order for one of us to get out. Since the contractor is going to be replacing a large amount of our existing driveway, I want to find out if we own enough property to the left of our driveway and if any setback issues would prevent us from extending the width of our driveway so that two cars can be parked side by side. Secondly, I've wondered how our ability to add an attached or detached garage or portico to the left side of our home would be affected by the setback requirements, and if we or any future owner should decide to make this improvement. My third concern has to do with the fences that run along the edge of our property. I sure hope the privacy fence that bounds the left and right sides of our backyard are actually on our property. During times of heavy rain, we used to get runoff from the adjoining neighbor's driveway and yard. The previous owner said that they had no problem with me making some fence and drainage improvements on their side to alleviate this issue. So I'm especially concerned with the location of the fence along the left boundary, and that I had the legal right to maintain it as I so desire in the future, but I want to locate the fence on the right side and rear boundaries as well. I use a yard service for weekly maintenance so that the high crawl space has provided ample room for the few yard tools that I have needed to use and store for our landscape projects. However, I have considered someday purchasing one of those storage shed designs from a home improvement company to store beekeeping supplies and other hobby materials, and I have wondered if there is room between the right side fence and the house, or if I can install it across the creek like my neighbor has done. Locating the property lines and knowing the setbacks and any other applicable restrictions will help me make these decisions. We really enjoy the beauty of the small stream that runs through our property. The natural area on the other side has made for a convenient location for us to be able to enjoy our urban beekeeping hobby, and yet they're far enough away not to hinder any routine yard maintenance. We have a lot of heavy rains, and although our stream hasn't risen out of the banks this year, I have wondered if any part of our backyard is in a FEMA designated flood zone, and if so, would that have any effect on me being able to put a little storage shed in this area, since FEMA requires a permit for any man-made change in a designated flood zone. Lastly, I'm wondering if there are any big surprises that could potentially show up on a survey that I am just not thinking about. When I asked my fiance if she got a survey at the time she purchased this home 7 years ago, she could not remember all the details of her purchase process. We were not able to locate a survey plat in her closing documents, and 7 years is just too far back for us to chance a costly mistake anyway. I was able to pull this plat off of Polaris, the Property Ownership Land Records Information System. It shows the shape of our lot, the measurements of the property lines, and the blue dashes indicate we have a creek, but it also states that Mecklenburg County and its mapping contractors assume no legal responsibility for the information contained herein. The city gave us a plat pertaining to the upcoming sidewalk project. In addition to what we were able to get from Polaris, it also shows the adjoining property owners' names and the temporary construction easement area for the upcoming sidewalk project. This survey states that it was prepared for the purchase of acquisition and easements only, and it is not intended to be a boundary survey. I think I'll ask my father what he feels like my next steps should be. I'm sitting here with my father, Leon Price, and Dad is a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor, and he's retired from the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Dad, when I was growing up on that farm in Wilkes County, in addition to all the farm work we had to do, we also did a lot of land surveying on the weekends. I'm just wondering, is this a project that we could do today?
Well, what we did then now is just totally antiquated, and I haven't had a license in a long time.
Well, you said that equipment we had back then was the latest and greatest.
Well, that's 35, 40 years ago. Things have certainly changed.
Yeah, you said that someday I would grow up to appreciate all that work we did on the farm and all that land surveying.
Well, I certainly hope that you can remember some of the costly mistakes that we made, or that people made back then, buying land without getting a proper survey. The importance of always getting a survey and thus not making the costly mistakes of buying property and not being aware of possible encroachments, and also building something on something that's beyond the sideline. All those can be avoided. But by getting a licensed surveyor who has the professional experience and the tools to accomplish the job, you can avoid all of that.
You know, if I think real hard, I can remember back when we were doing all that surveying. However, we have a little surveying work to do today. Mr. Summers is giving his son-in-law 40 acres of mule, and we need to shoot the meets and bounds so we can mark the lines after we put in the corners.
Dad, I sure am glad we finally got a diesel tractor. It can be a little difficult to start up on cold mornings, but not nearly as bad as trying to start up a mule.
You know, you might not realize it now, but someday you're going to really appreciate all the trades you had the opportunity to learn growing up on this farm.
I think when I grow up, I'm just gonna move this city. I'll never have to work with structures, exteriors, roofing, plumbing, electrical, or even HVAC ever again.
Someone to love me the whole day through. I want look in my eyes and you can tell that's true. Oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Oh
Hold it tight.
man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were.
97.3. So today I'm here with Michael Lee of Robert E. Lee Surveying. And Michael, I remember when I was growing up and we used these old transits, we'd have to shoot to the woods to plumb bobs, and we'd have to pull a chain for the distance. And I haven't seen y'all pull any chains today, and this transit looks a lot different than the ones that we used growing up. How does this one work?
Well, basically it takes a shot into a glass prism and it reflects the distance back into it, and it stores it in this, which is a data collector, kind of similar to a smaller computer.
Now, does that download directly into a CAD system when you get back to the office for your
Correct.
drawings?
Yes, it does. It actually, you hook it to a cord, and you hook the cord to the computer, and it just transfers the points that we shoot out here in the field into the computer, which is the AutoCAD program, which we draw it.
That sounds like it saves a lot of time from the way we used to do it, and
Yes.
probably more accurate.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, how often in your line of work do you find where somebody has encroached on their neighbor?
I would say 1 in 3 from our company, but
Are these pretty serious encroachments, or?
majority of the time they're just fence encroachments, but typically that's why people get the survey, because they want to know. And mostly it's small, but sometimes we have ran into where there's been driveways and buildings and other things over the property line, and you just don't really know until you get either the line staked or the property corners found, and you can pull a string line or pull that line in.
Sounds like survey is pretty good return on investment for what you get.
Correct. Yes, it's very much good investment, because if you want to build a fence, if you want to build a building, carport, or anything, if you don't know where your line is and you just put it up, you're typically going to have to bring it down if the neighbor wants it brought down and if it's over the property line. So.
Yeah. All right, so we're here today with Robert E. Lee of Robert E. Lee Land Surveying. And Mr. Lee, appreciate you coming out and bringing us the plat. And we're thinking about extending this driveway and doubling the width. And we're wondering if we've got enough room, enough property to do that, and if there are any setback requirements that would prohibit us from extending the width of this driveway.
Right, I believe you got plenty of room.
Yeah,
There's no setback requirements.
Yeah.
Pour all the way to the line.
yeah.
From the corner of the chimney there, you've got about 18 feet
Yes.
to the line. So if you're just doing a driveway, you could go all the way to the line. The only thing that would have to fall within the setbacks would be the actual building structure. Anything
Okay.
with a foundation.
Okay, so there's no setback requirements for driveways.
Correct.
Great. So now they put some red flagging on a piece of pipe way over here the other day, where this red flag is. Is that our property line right there?
Yes, sir. It is.
Wow. So we can bring the driveway all the way over to here.
Yep.
I'm thinking about if I do that, we got enough property where I could probably just keep it a foot or two off the property line just to have some space if I wanted to plant any bushes or something. Is that a good idea?
Yep.
The other question, Mr. Lee, that we had was we thought about someday we may want to build a garage or a portico. I kind of prefer a garage because I like somewhere to store some things.
Right.
And we're just wondering if we're going to have enough space, enough width right here, if we own enough property that I could build a garage and still have the setback. So we're wondering what is our setback, and given that, will we have enough property to build a garage or portico?
Right. Property's zoned R3, and that would give you a 6-foot side yard. You got 18.2 from the chimney there, so that gives you, roughly 12 feet, and probably 14 from the actual house.
We really enjoy our backyard, and our privacy fence helps to make that a pleasant experience. And we're thinking surely they built this privacy fence on our property, but I guess in surveying you better never assume anything, huh?
Exactly.
Well, did we get lucky? Is in fact this?
It is in fact in the line, within the boundaries.
Great. When your surveying crew was out here the other day, they went ahead and pinned in this right rear corner right here where this red flagging is, and I was just concerned, is it going to cut off the edge of my beehives, or my beehives over on my neighbor's property? Because I thought it went all the way to that chain link fence.
Right.
But our survey, what's our survey showing us right here?
Actually, you're short of the chain link fence, but your beehives are probably around 8 feet from the actual rear property line.
Oh, that's good news. So my beehives, there's 8 feet of distance between the rear corner of my beehives and the property line?
Yes, sir.
I was not looking forward to moving those.
No, I think you got plenty of room.
So that's pretty much just an optical illusion with this corner as it works its way back over there to the far corner.
Right.
And then you got a detail and some notes right here about that left rear corner. What's going on back there?
Right, that's the chain link fence going across the back of the property. That's actually your neighbor's fence, and their fence encroaches onto your property by 4/10 for a total distance of 13.8 feet.
So 4/10 of a foot for a length of 13.8 feet.
Right.
Now it looks like, I was looking at your survey right here where you're pointing out our privacy fences. It looks like I got quite a bit more room on this side of this privacy fence, maybe 2 or 3 feet, where I could probably get over there and service that and still be the back side of this privacy fence without actually having to ask the neighbor, if they weren't around to, request permission.
Yeah, it looks like you've probably got about a little over a foot at the back corner here.
Yes.
And in the front, probably 4 feet or so.
4 feet or so at the front. That's good. Now you got another little detail right here, and what's going on right here on the other side of our privacy fence?
That is where your neighbor has a cinder block wall that kind of juts over the property line just a little bit by a foot, and that also is an encroachment, and that's, we're required to show those.
Okay, but her little cinder block wall kind of helps to hold up the bank right there, and again, I'm not concerned about it. Lastly, we really love and enjoy our creek back here, but I'm just hoping it does not fall in a FEMA designated flood zone. Were you able to find that out for us?
Yes, we were, and it does not fall within the FEMA flood zone. The actual FEMA line's a few lots down before it starts.
On down this way, the land kind of gets real flat, and I could see where that would be a flood zone. So I didn't think it was, but again, I've learned in surveying, you better not assume anything.
Exactly.
Well, y'all sure do a very detailed. Do you do all your surveys, your location surveys in this much detail?
I do.
Wonderful. Having our home survey has been both interesting and reassuring. We only have 2 relatively minor encroachments, yet it was good to learn that we have enough property to double the width of our driveway, add a 1-car garage, and still stay within our setbacks. We have since had our surveyor add a building envelope to our survey plat so we can work on design and start getting some pricing. For me, this experience has re-emphasized the importance of why agents should recommend their buyers always get the prospective property surveyed and have it performed during their due diligence period, the same time they order their other inspections, so they will not have to forfeit any earnest money. Many surveyors refer to a location survey as a physical survey simultaneously. We should always make sure our surveys get sealed by the licensee. North Carolina refers to its licensees as a PLS, or Professional Land Surveyor. You can find all the licensees by going to the North Carolina Board of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors website at www.ncbels.org. There is also a state association called the North Carolina Society of Surveyors, and their website is www.ncsurveyors.com. If you don't have a current survey for your personal property, I hope you will consider this experience for yourself.